Let's transition over to the SEC and talk about Arkansas a little bit. Last year, Cole, Sam Pittman had some of the highest odds to get fired, and he did not. He's back for 2025. I'm sure you'll get to it at some point, but what are his odds of being back for 26 is probably a question I have at some point in here. Thoughts on Arkansas?
The odds, according to Ranker this morning, number one coach still expected to be fired in 2024.
Poor Sam Pittman.
So sure. Let's pretend that Hunter Yurachich is actually listening to message boards and saying, I'm going to make change out in Fayetteville. They went 7-6 last year. They made it to a bowl game. They got the victory over Texas Tech, who was without their starting quarterback in Baron Morton. And of course, they had that signature moment, which they do every single year underneath Sam Pittman, beating a top 25 team and proving that things are at least as stable as they can be, whatever it is. It was against Tennessee. Malachi Singleton comes in for Taylon Green, and they get the victory despite not having a Taylon Green out there. There were a lot of blips on the radar. There was the second half comeback by Texas A&M in the Southwest Classic for the final time out in Arlington, Texas. Now this is back to being a home and home matchup. There was the double overtime game against a 3-9 Oklahoma State team that did have a quarterback when Arkansas probably just should have put Pell to the metal, and they weren't able to close out. There was the good first half against LSU and then debauchery in the second half. There was the immediate blowout and the record-setting performance by Jackson Dart against the secondary out in Fayetteville later on in the season. There was the late comeback by Missouri last season in the Snow Bowl that eventually led to the Battle Line Trophy going back to Como. So there were some moments to where you felt like, okay, this team is at least showing potential, but they also shot themselves in the foot and had too many self-inflicting wounds. They did go out in the portal. They landed, I believe I'm not mistaken, 22 newcomers, including Omega Blake, the vertical wide receiver from Charlotte, AJ Green, the running back from Oklahoma State, Courtney Crutchfield, a Arkansas native, returns to the natural state after spending a year at Missouri. Marcus Dumerville comes on in from Maryland. Ismail Cease comes on in from Stanford. They also landed Mike Washington, the running back from New Mexico State, and Connie Walker, the cornerback from from Oklahoma. They lost a lot of talent. And I mean, yes, they lost some talent to the draft, Andrew Armstrong probably being the biggest name, but 31 outgoing transfers this year, including multiple key pieces like Patrick Kudis, now going down to Ole Miss. Luke Haas, the tight end, going down to Ole Miss. Tevis and TJ Metcalf, both joining forces in Ann Arbor to go play at Michigan. Isaiah Satenga goes on over to Arkansas. So they've lost a lot of names, which again, maybe isn't a bad thing, but it certainly does make your roster look completely different. 24 total recruits, number 33 ranked recruiting class for overall. They were number 14, if I'm not mistaken, among SEC teams. Key players that they added in: 4-star linebacker Tavian Wallace, Madden Iamaliava, the younger brother of Nico Iamaliava, the 4-star quarterback out of Long Beach Poly, Kevin Otis, the 3-star defensive tackle from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Grayson Wilson, another quarterback coming on in from Conway, Arkansas, Jacaden Ferguson, the 3-star wide receiver from Missouri City, Texas. What is really the expectation for Arkansas is a big question that I think everyone has each offseason, because it doesn't feel like Sam Pittman is ever going to be fired. It just feels like they're waiting for him to wave the white flag and go off into the sunset and say, I did my best and I want to make change. And I think the part of the reason you don't see him fired is because the money and the resources that currently are being thrown into the wells of the Arkansas athletic departments aren't towards football. They're towards basketball. They're towards baseball. They're towards softball. They're towards other sports, because there's an inclination that we're not going to be able to win a national title in football. We're not going to be able to put ourselves in the same conversation as Ole Miss or South Carolina or Missouri, for that matter, or even Texas A&M. So we're going to utilize our money into bettering our other sports to where we still are able to be a championship caliber program, just not in football. And they don't want to pay the buyout of what comes with Sam Pittman and hit reset on the roster for an organization that right now is kind of caught a crossroads between being 7-5, 6-6, 5-7, 4-8 every single year. Like, that is what you have. Well, my expectations are this year is, hey, it's a second year by Petrino as my offense coordinator. That's a good thing, because he handpicked the quarterback in Taylon Green. And Taylon Green, as I like to compare him to, is 2 a.m. Taco Bell. Because of it all matters if you're drunk or sober. If you're drunk, it's amazing. Taylon Green is amazing. If you're sober, it's kind of messy, It's a little probably not your first take, and you certainly feel bad about the Tums that you're going to have to throw into your body later on. And that's the mistakes that you see Taylor Green make. Can he be drunk 2 a.m. Taco Bell going into year 2 with this system?
Quickly, Arkansas fans or fans of any college football team, make sure that you're remembering Alumni Hall when you're gearing up for spring football or for NCAA tournament action in the Sweet 16, and hopefully for Coach Cal and you guys beyond. CFA 15, that's CFA for college football addiction. 15 will save you 15% at Alumni Hall, either in store located on College Avenue there in Fayetteville or online at alumnihall.com. They have the best and the largest selection of officially licensed game day gear. Brands like Nike, Champion, New Era, and more. Hogs fans, Alumni Hall is your official fan shopping destination, and I appreciate their support on this video.
I do like the wide receivers they brought in. I like the fact that they have 3 new starters on the offensive line. I want to see more consistency from the secondary. Travis Williams was hit and miss as a coordinator last year. A lot of people thought that he was going to be leaving this offseason. They gave up the 3rd most yards in pass coverage among any SEC team last year. And how many times, if you just take away 1 or 2 explosive plays, is Arkansas in this matchup? And you did see promise in several of these games. The Auburn game, they get 4 turnovers against Peyton Thorne, and they're able to put pedal to the metal and punch their ticket to a victory in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which is a massive win. But I wonder, can I find continuity? And the big thing that I just want to take away this year is, what does the future look like for Arkansas? Do they believe that they are a program that every few years, like South Carolina, like Missouri, like Ole Miss, like maybe you could throw in Oklahoma, which feels facetious, but still is, that they'll be a playoff contending team? They may not make the college football playoff, but 9-3 is not off the table. 10-2 is not off the table. We're right in the running going into the final stages of November to where, hey, if one thing bodes in our favor, we're guaranteeing our spot to be able to at least punch our ticket to the college football playoff or be in the running. And I think that's something that Arkansas fans are also salivating at, knowing what they have. The college football gods hate Arkansas. They always have hated Arkansas. They will always hate Arkansas because of their schedule. They open up conference play on the road against Ole Miss. Then they go play host to Notre Dame on September 27th. A week after a bye, they have 3 of their toughest games in a row: at Tennessee, at home against Texas A&M, and then against Auburn. All teams that feel like that they have improved. Closing out the year with games against LSU in Tiger Stadium, at Texas, and home against Missouri on November 29th. I think this team is probably good enough to be a bowl win team. I think this team is good enough to get to 6-6. But is that what the expectations are for the Hog faithful? That this is a roster that people believe should be just accepting a trip to the Liberty Bowl or the Texas Bowl or to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl or one of those bowl games? Because if that's what they want, it's totally fine with me. But if that's what you don't expect, that may be where you are at with Sam Pittman. My breakout player is Omega Blake. Last year, he led all of college football in yards after catch with 21.8. So he is a vertical threat, which bodes extremely well with Taylor Green's arm. And I think the X factor for this team is going to be this offensive line. It can't get any worse than it was last year. You got to give Green some ample time to throw. If he has his windows of opportunities, I think he is going to strike. Do not be shocked if Taylor Green leads the conference in passing yards and passing interceptions.
It feels like so early that Memphis game is pretty big. It's tough to see them going on the road and winning in Oxford in week 3. And then they have Notre Dame in town the week after Memphis, to where if they lost on the road at Memphis, which certainly won't be an easy one by any means, it feels like the wheels could come off. And you mentioned the schedule. They're going to have to pull a couple of upsets. They get A&M at home. They get Auburn at home. I think that both of those are somewhat winnable because Arkansas always finds a way to win one game they're not supposed to. Yeah. But it feels like if they were to, they also seem to find a way to lose a game or two that they're not supposed to. If they dropped at Memphis, it feels really tough to see them getting back on track enough with how brutal the schedule is. Maybe they pick up a win against Mississippi State, who comes to Fayetteville, but the schedule is so tough. And even if you're giving them the one win that they shouldn't get, whether that's A&M or maybe it is upsetting Ole Miss on the road or something like that, it feels tough to find a path to 3 upsets if you drop that game to Memphis. I think that's kind of the litmus test for whether, he could get, he could move on or get fired even if they do beat Memphis because the rest of the schedule is so brutal. But that feels like a really early season test to where if they lose that one, I don't really see a lot of optimism for Arkansas the rest of the way.
Here's what I just want to ask you guys. When you look currently at several prominent G5 jobs, so Spencer Danielson at Boise State or John Summerall at Tulane, and there's an opportunity for Hunter Yurachek to call you up and say, you want to coach at Arkansas, a place where right now it feels like that we'll give you $7 million a year, but you're not going to be playing for a college football playoff. You're not going to have an opportunity to win your conference championship. You're going to rank in the bottom half of recruiting rankings. You're not going to become a pipeline destination for recruits on the transfer portal side because Texas and Oklahoma decided to join. Are you touching that job, or are you going to stick it out in New Orleans and Boise and wait for a better opportunity that will offer the same amount of money, but maybe better resources and more allocations for you to be able to build a program in your image from the ground up?
Well, I want to know what my allocation, I want to know what my NIL budget is, right? You just brought in Coach Cal on the other side of things. And I know that football rosters are way more expensive than basketball rosters, but like, I want to know, can I have $20 million like Georgia's going to put into their football team this year? Can I at least have 15 million, right? Like what will you actually let me work with to go out and build a winner here? Because so the answer to that is maybe, right? What do I have? And can I have a 3 to 4 year runway to really build this thing? And can I have $20 million a year to go out and build a roster that is competitive and does, attract some talent to where I can use it as a stepping stone job, right? To where if I do a good job there, I can get something else. Now, if you're John Summerall at Tulane, would you maybe just hold out for the Ole Miss job to come open? Would you just maybe hold out for, there's another job 45 minutes from New Orleans that could come open if that team doesn't finally make the playoffs? So yeah, I mean, it's a gambling game, right? Like if you're one of those coaches, because yeah, I mean, SEC money is really great, but yeah, you go to Arkansas and you flame out there. I mean, you're never getting you're not getting another Power 5 job for 10 years. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly a gamble. These coaches are prideful, man. Like they bet on themselves and they think they can figure stuff out, and they like, I'll be the one to turn it around. But that would be my number one question. Hey, you how much did you give Cal? All right, I want double that to build the football program, the NIL investment to build football.
All I will say is that Rhett Lashley has been rumored to this job for years. I do not think he would take it. I think he would stay at SMU. They would give him exactly what he needs to build a contender in the ACC, and he would walk away with a smile on his face, knowing that he has made it at Gerald Ford Stadium. That's my 2 cents.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this clip from our live show of The Power 2. We don't ask for a lot on these videos, but I do want to let you know quickly, we're on all your favorite social media apps, X, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, you can find us wherever you find your favorite podcasts like Apple and Spotify. Check us out there in case you miss an episode here on YouTube. You won't miss any of our content on college football addiction on those platforms as well.